Now I build almost all of my projects out of scrap metal. And I've got these old conveyor frames that are off of our fiberglass conveyors. We got some pretty good material in it. So, now that looks a little bit better. So I took and cut those conveyors apart, and this is the material I'm left with. I do have a couple short pieces laying in the corner over there. This is going to be the rough layout of the bed. I'm not a fan of square box corners on the back. I don't care for them when you're towing trailers like a gooseneck or a fifth wheel. I like the mitered corners. So I set this one up at 135-degree angles. The bed is 7 feet wide, and it is 9 feet long to what will be the center section back here. So this is kind of hodgepodging some things together. Most guys, along with the last truck I built, I went exactly by Wayne's book, and I built it the way that he's always done it, and a lot of other people have done it. Now, since Wayne came out with the design, there's been a couple people that have modified it a little bit. This is going to be one of my modifications for this truck that I'm building. Once again, taking notes from Jacob North and his flatbed build. So I'm building a flatbed. One of the things that I'm going to be doing is this is going to be a structural flatbed. So this material is 3/16 wall, 2x3 box tubing. It does have a seam in it. I'm not worried about it. It's not going to cause me any issues. But one of the things that I'm going to change, I'm going to try to utilize the bed itself for as many purposes as I can. So 3/16 box tubing, I mean, that's plenty tough. Most flatbeds today are 1/8" material. So mine's going to be pretty heavy duty. I do plan to later on down the road put a hitch in it, so it will be towed with. It's got to be tough. It's got to be stout. So the 3/16 wall will do that very nicely. Now, what I'm going to do on top of that, I'm going to try to utilize the bed for as many components of the gasifier system as I can. And another reason that I went with the mitered corners is these two side rails and those back two corners. Those are actually part of the cooling rails. Now I went through and deburred on every corner completely because I need gas to be able to flow through the flatbed. Now, across the front here, this tube butts up against the side rails. This one, I'm going to cut the bottom of it out over here by the gasifier, and I'm going to build a tank underneath of it that's integral to the rail. That's going to be my condensate tank for the hopper to pick up all the hopper juices. I'm going to weld a bung fitting into the top of it when I get the gasifier set in place wherever it's going to go, and that will dictate where my drain tube off of the hopper comes off, drops into that rail. That rail will be the tank itself, but the tank will be built underneath of it, part of that rail. Then I will be able to build the headache rack on top of that will flow the gas coming out of the gasifier. I'm going to have probably 3 runs of pipe that come up off of the bed, probably 2 or 3 inches or so in between, and that'll be just standard tubing, whatever material I come across. So the gas will come through the headboard behind me, down into this rail and the 3 tubes on top of it. The tubes will end probably at 8 feet, so that all the gas at that point will be inside of these 2 corners. This will get capped on both ends, and this middle piece that I haven't built yet will be the only part of the flatbed so far that has no purpose to the gasifier. It's just a structural member. Then the gas will come out from underneath of these 2 into what will be an integrally mounted tank to pick up all of my rear condensates. That's as far as I've gotten so far and how I'm going to be building the flatbed, but I needed to get the main frame of it built, get it on the truck, and decide how far off the frame it needs to sit, and that will also dictate where the gasifier is going to sit. Now I know roughly where it's going to sit at on the truck, but more than anything, when I mount the bed frame, that tells me, because I also plan to mount the gasifier itself to the bed. So I have to get this frame built, set onto the truck, set the height so that I'm not going to run into it with the tires, whatever height I end up at, then I can build the mount for the gasifier. So the gasifier will be mounted to the bed, then I can dictate what my hopper height is going to be against the side of the truck. So I had to get this far. I still need to cut in this back piece here. I'm just going to get this all tacked together because this is still, it's prototype more or less. Get all this built, go set it onto the truck, get the gasifier set on it, and see where I can build from there. Now, as far as the detail work, like I said, inside of this corner, I made sure I deburred the pipe all the way around. I want as little restriction as possible for that gas to be able to turn and make that corner, because there's going to be soot that piles up in here, and I know that. Now, down here on this end, I'm going to take and cut a block that will actually inset in the pipe, just a hair, and weld it and cap this off so that it's actually the end of the rail. Now, like I said, we're going to have soot that piles up in here. So what I'm planning to do, up here at the front, you can see I told you I butted this one in, and that will encapsulate the tank on this side. Well, that still leaves us with a problem of, it's kind of open right here. I need this to be sealed. So what I'm planning to do, I'm going to take a nut. I haven't decided, what size or anything. Take a nut and weld a piece of round stock on each side of it so it looks like a wing nut. I'm going to set it back inside of the pipe and weld the round stock to each corner. Then I can simply build a plate that goes over the top with a gasket, and I can run that bolt down, seal that off. Now, the reason I'm not going to weld that close, like I already said, we're going to have soot in here. I need to be able to clean this out. So I'll be able to pull the bolt out, pull the cap off, put my garden hose straight inside, and wash the rails out completely. Because all the water will flow to the back, come out the pipe on the bottom, hit the condensate tank that will be in the middle, and drain out of the condensate tank. So I will still be able to do a full washout of the cooling rails. And of course, the rails that will be up on top of here, they're probably going to be Fernco coupled on like I did on my blue truck, so that I can quickly take those off. That also gives me an opportunity to, wherever the uprights are, probably at 8 foot, and right on the corner here where the headboard will tie in, which will also be part of the cooling rack, anywhere that I pull the pipes off, I can still shove a garden hose straight down in and wash from there as well to get everything nice and clean. Now, if my Toyota is any inclination, running on softwood all the time, I produce a lot of soot. Now, I have been getting a lot more maple lately, which is great because it gets better mileage, but it also produces less soot, I've noticed, at least for the couple weeks that I have been able to run on it. But if I am running in the V10 and I'm running on softwood, like that pile of pine and fir right there, or those pine and fir boards over there, I'm going to have a lot of soot. I need to be able to clean the system out. One of the reasons that I'm engineering that cap and the cooling rack that'll sit on the sides here the way that I am. I'll be able to do full washouts. One of the other things I'm thinking, as far as this build, I've talked to a couple guys on the Drive on Wood, and my idea is I want this thing to be as camouflage running down the road as possible. It's not uncommon to see a flatbed that probably has some oil drums up here. Somebody going to work. It just looks like a work truck. Not uncommon to see sideboards on a flatbed. The cooling rails will blend into the bed. Gasifier and all of its barrels will blend in. I want this thing to look like just a work truck going down the road. It's just another guy going to work. It's going to be wide out in the open for anybody to see, but it's going to be totally camouflaged. If you're not a wood gasser, you're not going to recognize what's going on with this. I'm amazed. Hot rod guys, car guys, nobody asked me about my truck, and it's blatantly obvious that something is going on. I've been stopped, I think, 3 times now, and actually asked about the truck in almost 8 months of daily driving it. This, I'm hoping nobody notices at all. At least that's the plan.